It brings me great pleasure to introduce someone who I've recently become friends with. I want to give a little backstory. When we're planning creativeLIVE, again, creativeLIVE is kind of a side gig for me, trying to help democratize creative education. And every time I sit down and focus my attention on it, I get really excited about it. And there's obviously a bunch of classes from all walks of the creative pursuits, from painting and drawing, design, and of course photography and video, which is my area of expertise and where I get my professional excitement from. And when we talk about the photography stuff specifically, one of the things that I'm excited about is kind of curating the list of people that we get to bring in here. We brought in some amazing folks before Jasmine, and the folks like Vince LaFerre, good friend of mine, Zach Arias, Dave Duchemin, Scott Bourne, and the list, where are you? John, right there. John Gringo's in the house. John is an amazing instructor as well. So it's been really, really fun to curate that list. And what I'm doing is I'm really listening to the internet. So if there are people that you want to have on the show, tell me. And I've got my ear to the ground. And in the process of doing that and having my ear to the ground, one thing that kept coming up is there's a huge chunk of the world of photography that is focused on weddings and portraits and whatnot, and we hadn't really represented that well. And the name that kept coming up as someone that people wanted to have on creativeLIVE was Jasmine. So I called you. I don't remember where I got your phone number from.
I don't know either. No, actually, I do remember.
You do?
Can I share a backstory?
Please. Again, I still haven't introduced you, so you're not even here yet.
I was like, okay, this is like diva. This is my moment.
Go
ahead. I actually emailed you a long time ago, and I asked him if he would want to be how stupid. I asked him if he wanted to be a guest blogger on my blog. I'm so embarrassed. I mean, here he is, like big kahuna of blogging, and I'm like, do you want to write in my blog? And I didn't hear back, and I'm not offended. I'm totally not offended at all. I totally get it. I mean, he's so busy. Anyway, and so all of a sudden, foolishly, I get an email. It says Chase Jarvis, and I'm like, he wants to write on my blog. And he asked for my phone number, and I gave it to him.
This is not an advertisement for me to write on your blog.
You won't get a response, people.
Okay, so in true form, as she described, I guess I got her phone number from her, and phoned her and just had a conversation about it. And I said we would love to have you up here and plan something extraordinary, and kind of break the rules of training, because it's going to be on location and it's going to be hard for people to follow, but it's going to be challenging and engaging. And more than anything, I feel like that's what the world wants. They don't want another person just kind of monotoning on about what it is that they do. They want something that's dynamic, and that's what we wanted to create. And after a couple phone calls back and forth, and then connecting her with Craig, we have created, or you guys really have created, something that I think is going to be a magic and interesting experience for everybody. I know how hard our crew, I mean, I've been out of the country for the last little bit, but I came back to just a maelstrom of just planning, and I know how hard our crew has worked, and I know how hard you have been planning for this thing, and it's with great pleasure that I'm introducing someone who's been on stage for the last 30 minutes, but who's going to bring you an amazing 5 days. It gives me great pleasure to turn you over to the amazing J Star. Jasmine Star is in the house.
Thank you.
Can we get a round of applause?
Thank you.
And I'm going to crash your party a couple times throughout the weekend because I'm in Seattle, and I'm going to learn a few things, because I had you on Chase Jarvis Live yesterday. I learned a ton. I don't know anything about wedding photography.
I secretly think you want to be my third shooter. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to bring it out in the open.
Fourth
shooter. Okay.
Great. Anyway,
thank you.
Thank you very much. And
thank you for the opportunity.
Well,
I mean, I
pleasure.
really, I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again in front of whoever's watching. This is something beyond my wildest dreams. I can't believe I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Have fun, you guys. Ciao.
Thank you. And what he didn't mention either was the fact that when he first called, I was just like, no. He said, we want to create something so big, something the internet hasn't seen before. He's like, we want to put on a wedding. And I was just like, you're crazy. Like, no. He's like, and we want to broadcast it live. And I'm like, you're crazier, and here's a bigger no. But the thing about Chase is that he could sell ice to an Eskimo. Like, he's just like, no, and he takes no as like fuel. He's just like, you're daring me? And so, no, I mean, my little faith. I didn't think that this would come together, and here we are in Seattle putting together this thing, and we're all part of the project, and it's going to be an amazing day, an amazing wedding, and I thank you guys so much for, dang it, I'm such a girl. Dang it. I'm crying on the first day. I'm crying on the first day. No, I just can't believe I'm here. It's just like a huge honor. I don't know why anybody would want to come hear me speak, but I'm totally blown away by it. I think that we're going to grow and learn together, because every wedding that I shoot, I feel like I learn something more because I make a ton of mistakes. So if you guys can be extra forgiving, I would appreciate it. If you guys have questions, more than anything is just keep it real. Like, I know right now we kind of feel like everything's like formalized and like schoolish. Just like shake it off. We're going to be together for 5 days. So it's going to be like summer camp feeling. Like, I expect friendship bracelets at the end, like pen pal notes, like the whole 9. So we're definitely going to do this, and we're going to rock it out. But before I start talking, I just want to say thank you, and I would love if you guys would introduce yourselves, because I feel like I know you because I've checked out your blogs, I saw your videos, I know where you guys are from. Nate's gonna have a baby, you just moved to Canada. I mean, we know what is going on. So, but I do, but maybe not the online audience does. And I know that they're gonna be, as much as they're watching me, they're gonna be watching you too. I will be having conversations with you. So I want to put your personalities out on the web, because this isn't my thing, it's our thing. So, I think we're going to start here, and if you guys could let me know just your name, where you're from, how long you've been shooting, and your Twitter handle, if you guys want to put that out. If people want to have conversations with you about, like, if my breath smells or if I'm really mean behind the scenes, like, please feel free to go ahead. So those 4 things.
Cool. Hi, my name's Sachin Kona. I'm from London, England. Basically, been shooting for quite a few years since I was a kid and stuff, and then but weddings most recently since basically about a year and a half. And yeah, my Twitter handle is that the 4th one, I think, is at Sachin Kona. So
Can you spell that out? Just
yeah, sure. It's SACHIN, and Kona is KHONA.
Kona.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to start speaking like you at the end. Okay.
Oh, really?
I love it.
Should I look at you?
Oh, no, you can talk to everybody.
Okay, my name is Stephanie Miller. I have been seriously shooting for 6 months. That's why I call myself the rookie photographer. I'm from good old Los Angeles. Yeah. And my Twitter handle is smillerphotos, not Smiller. Smiller. It gets confusing. Good.
My name is Nate Perks. My wife and I live in Idaho, just outside of Boise, in a place called Star, Idaho. Like Jasmine said, we are expecting a baby in February, which we're really excited about. It's going to be our first baby. I've been photographing I've been doing weddings for about 1.5 years to 2 years. And my Twitter handle is at Nate Perks. So it's NatePerkes.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate.
My name is Audrey Smith. I live just north of Copenhagen in Denmark with my husband and my adorable little girl. She's 7 months. And same thing as Stephanie. I just started photography seriously, 6 months ago, 5 months ago. So before that, playing on and off. But so a new buy.
And your Twitter handle?
And my Twitter handle is at Audrey Smith Photo.
Wonderful.
My name is Victoria DeMartini. I'm from Montreal, where you may have heard I have a few cats that I live with. Thank God my boyfriend Gabby likes cats too, because otherwise I would be living in our garage. This is my 3rd year shooting weddings. I've loved photography since high school. I used to be a photographer for the school yearbook, and I just sort of always shot. I used to do nature photography before. And then my friend Dory, if you're out there, hey, dragged me into wedding photography. My Twitter handle is at KookieCatChick.
Nice. Okay, cool. Thank you guys again for coming out. I mean, I totally do appreciate it. I think more than anything, I get to sit here and talk a lot about what I've done, but I think it would behoove us to understand a little bit of the backstory. I did touch briefly on this yesterday with on Chase Jarvis Live, so if it is repetitive to some of you who watch, please forgive me, but I'm going to do it in the interest of those who aren't familiar with who I am, because I do think that there are some people who just listen and accept things, and I'm not one of those people. I definitely come from a place of no, and I'm very skeptical. So in order for you to understand a little bit from where I stand now to see how far I've come in such a short amount of time, I really want everybody to know like the backstory. The backstory basically is that I didn't know my left from my right, and yet somehow I was able to create a business, and with help from a lot of different people from a lot of different resources, which is why I firmly believe in giving back to community education, and why creativeLIVE, this resonated super well with me, because I want people to get better. A rising tide raises all ships. So I feel like if we can all give back, and when you guys have the opportunity to go home, please feel free to set up meetings, talk about your experience, whatever it is, to disseminate information. I think that that's how the industry as a whole is going to move forward. So thank you so much for that. A brief introduction about who I am. I started this big photography experience back in 2006. But the story actually begins around 2005. And in 2005, I was at UCLA Law School. I had a full ride, a full academic ride, and it was a great, great, great experience. I loved the experience, but I hated law school. It was a terrible fit for me, and it just wasn't a good thing. Part of what augmented the problem was that I felt like my personality didn't fit so well in law school, and I was doing fine academically. But one thing that I didn't really anticipate was that my mother was diagnosed with brain cancer and cancer of the central nervous system when I was 20 and in college. And while she kind of teetered for a little bit, she was doing okay. So I went into law school, and then during my first year, she had a relapse with brain cancer. And at this point in time, the doctors were just like, it's about the quality of her life. So it's time to make a decision to pull back from chemotherapy. And so at that point in time, we weren't sure what was going to go on. And I thought, if my mom were to pass, I want to be with her. And I will never forget walking into law school and literally turning on my heel and quitting that same day. And I shouldn't say I quit. I just needed a medical leave. So I woke up that morning, and part of the scholarship was that I got to live on this brand new, beautiful on-campus housing. It's gorgeous. So it's in West LA. I'm literally a block from like the Bel Air gate, and I loved where I was living. I got onto the campus tram, went into law school with all my books, and I turned on my heel and I walked to the dean's office, and I said, you know what? I think my mom is going to die, and I just need some time. And she's just like, okay, no problem. You have that. We'll reinstate your scholarships. You have 5 years to come back and get your scholarship. And I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I called JD, my now husband, but at the time was my boyfriend, and I call him and I'm like, hey, I quit I said, I just got out of law school. And he's like, okay, cool. Do you want to grab dinner later? And I was just like, no, really. Like, I left. I just left law school. And he was just like, wait, what? I didn't talk to anybody about this decision because I knew that it was right for me at that time. And so part of like an issue or a problem became that because I was on scholarship and because I lived on-campus housing, I had to move out because I was no longer a student. So he had this total beater truck. I mean, it was so ghetto. It had a cab on the truck, okay? Like, who has a cab on their truck when you live in Southern California? JD had a cab, and it was like this total, like, 1982 Ford Ranger. I mean, beat up along the sides. But whatever, we packed up his truck, and I literally moved within, like, 2 days. And I didn't have anywhere to go, so I moved home, thinking that it was just going to be a transition. And my mom was 50, and I was 25, and I thought, if my mom passes, I don't know. I had a midlife crisis. Like, that's really what it turned into, because I felt like I'm 25 years old, and if I have 25 years left in my life, I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be unhappy. And I was very unhappy with where I was. And so I went home, and I was like on cloud nine. I was just like, Mom, I'm home. Like, this is great. We're going to be together. And then the next morning, like, I woke up in the same bedroom that I had when I was like 16, and literally there's like a cheer uniform in the closet, and there were like NSYNC posters on my wall. Yes, I listen to NSYNC. Go ahead, hate me. I don't care. But I kind of was just like, what did I do? Like, I think I made a huge mistake. But actually, in retrospect, I don't think that there's things as mistakes. I just think that that's like life guiding you in the direction you're supposed to go. And at the end of the day, I knew that life was too short to be so unhappy. And so I was at home about 3.5 months. I was working a part-time job. I was doing whatever I could just to make some money and to survive. I picked up writing gigs here and there, whatever I could. And then about 3 months of living at home, JD proposed. And it came out of the blue. I wasn't really expecting it, but it rallied the whole family. It gave us everything. It gave us something to look forward to, which was really exciting for all of us. We planned a destination wedding in Hawaii, and we planned it in about 6 months. And the whole family kind of got excited for it, and it really gave my mom something to look forward to. So I do believe that as wedding photographers, we have the capability of really challenging a family unit in ways that we don't even really understand. Because little did my wedding photographer realize that the impact that he would have on my life. So we're planning this destination wedding, and I'm looking online, and I'm trying to find a wedding photographer, and who I happen to come across is a photographer by the name of David J. And I was literally on Google looking, and I typed in wedding photojournalist. That's all I typed in. I come up on Google, and I find this David J guy, and I click on his website, and I was completely blown away. I was just like, who is this guy? Like, I was so amazed. Like, I was crying looking at this website. I turned to my sister, my best friend, who we happened to be looking for because we all planned the wedding together, because it was my wedding, but it was like our wedding. You know, like they were like, we need to have a say in your wedding. But we planned it. My mom, who couldn't walk at the time, my father had carried her down to the couch, and we were sitting at the dining room table, and we were just like, oh my God, who's this guy? So we're like high-fiving each other, like, yeah, we just found the wedding photographer. I went to his bio section, and he had like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 pages on his bio section, and I felt like I liked him as a person. Like, yes, I liked his photos, but he was really, really awesome. He had a baby picture with him and his dad. He went skydiving, like all these random things that I shouldn't know because it wasn't necessarily professional. But there I was, like, watching him, and I'm like, I like him. I like everything he is and who, like, what he does. And so then I get to his pricing page, and like I turned to my sister, and I was just like, he's not my wedding photographer, because I knew that I couldn't afford him. So I flew to Hawaii to plan the wedding. I spent a weekend out there. I got an email from him, and he said that when I got back to the mainland, we would chat, we would talk. And I knew right there and then that I would do whatever I possibly humanly could. I actually emailed him. I'm so pathetic, and I can't even believe I'm admitting this on the World Wide Web. I emailed him, and I said, I will carry your bags at future weddings. Like, let me go and work off your services for my wedding. I'm not even lying. Like, how embarrassing, but I knew that I wanted him at my wedding. I knew there was something special about him. Yes, it was his photographs, but it was so much about him and who he was and everything he possessed. And we went back. I got back home, and he emailed, and he said that if he could pick the wedding date, that he would shoot the wedding. And the wedding date that he chose was Wednesday, September 28th, 2005. And I said, that's our wedding date. So he flew for a midweek wedding in Hawaii, and it was the most beautiful thing. He documented a miracle. My mother wasn't supposed to be there, and yet she and my father walked me down. So I think that, like, the things that we do possesses so much power. It's not something that we can actually back away from. And I think that that was the start of something so beyond my wildest dreams. Please, I cannot look at you. I will start crying, Victoria. You're wiping tears, and I just feel like we're turning this into like a girl fest. It's not a girl fest. It's so not a girl fest. No. I do admit, I do get choked up when I talk about this experience. It is a powerful thing. And my mom is probably watching on the internet, and that's something beyond my wildest dreams. So it's a huge thing. And on my wedding day, my wedding photographer brought out a laptop this size, and he showed a same-day slideshow of the photos that he documented on that day. And everybody in the room, grown men, were crying, like sobbing, because of the power that he possessed. He showcased my wedding day in such a beautiful way, and he documented a miracle. The power that we have as wedding photographers far supersedes anything that we can ever do or know or ever say. So, of course, I love my wedding photos. I feel like the happiest girl in the world. This is in September. I go back home in November, and it's time for me to make a declaration. This is November 2005. It's time for me to make a declaration to go back to law school, to pick up where I went back to school because I had to start spring semester. And of course, it seems like I cry a lot. I'm not a crier, but according to this morning, you would think that I'm a big baby. I'm totally not. But on this day in November, I'm crying, and I'm so unhappy because I don't want to go back to law school. And so we're sitting there, and I'll never forget what we were eating that night. I say the story again and again and again, and we'll always talk about the Mediterranean pasta. We had penne pasta, and it had artichoke hearts in it, and it was actually quite delicious, but I couldn't eat it because I was crying so much. And there's feta cheese mixed in, and I remember playing with the noodles on my plate thinking, I'm really miserable in law school. And I had a conversation with JD, and he said, okay, if you could wake up every day for the rest of your life and do something, what would it be? And I turned to him and I said, I want to be a wedding photographer. And he's like, what? Like, I mean, like the quiet, like, I want to be an underwater basket weaver. It was like the craziest thing he had ever heard. And he's like, I know that you liked our wedding photos, but like, really? And I'm like, yes, I think I did, because I was stalking my photographer's blog. He had a photography forum that I learned so much on. It's OSP Photography Forum. It's still there to this day. You will learn so much information. It's a free forum, free photography forum that I learned everything that I know about photography till this day. OSP Forum, Photography Forum. So he says, okay. And he says something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. He said, I would rather see you fail at something you love than succeed at something you hate. And with that, I had the permission to follow my dreams. And I gave myself a year because I didn't believe in my abilities, to be quite honest. I think that it's easier in retrospect to be like, I knew it was gonna happen. I had full faith. Like, I'm a go-getter. I always strive for the top. No, not at all. I didn't believe in my abilities. In fact, I didn't want to spend any of our savings in investing in camera gear because I was just like, no, it's not gonna happen. So then Christmas time, 2006, I get my very first camera, which is a Canon 20D. Comes with a kit lens, and I am in business. I'm like, oh, hey, I am legit now. I have myself a kit lens. What is it, like a 15 to 50, or like 18 to 55 or whatever it is. So anyway, I have my kit lens, and I'm feeling like all legit. And the first time I actually touch a digital camera is in January of 2006. I open it up and I'm so intimidated because I don't even know how to turn it on. I don't even know how to put the battery in. And so I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm gonna try. A year. Let's see how it goes for a year. Well, I had the opportunity to second shoot for a few weddings. I'll be talking about that in a little bit, but I second shot a few weddings, and then I booked my very first wedding for October of 2006. That first wedding comes along, and I shoot 2 other weddings that month. So a total of 3 weddings in 2006. And I shot close to 40 weddings in 2007. And that all happened without spending anything on marketing. It was all done word of mouth. It was all done online. And I just think that that says a lot for the changing dynamic in the photography industry. What you can do online and what you could use with social media, and actually being transparent on the web, and how much that changes what we do as artists, specifically dealing with the types of clients that we want to procure and get to move our brand forward. So we're gonna be talking more about that today. Another thing too is, if you guys have questions, please feel free. The reason why you guys were chosen is because I feel like you're a nice splice of the internet. If I'm not making sense, which happens a lot, just to be like, what did you mean there? Because if you're having that question, I guarantee you there are other people on the web who have the same question. So don't feel like that. And if I feel like I'm gonna answer the question later on in the presentation, I will totally let you know. And that applies very much well for people who are on the internet too. Real quick, just to back up a quick second. So how I got, because what happens is when I say I went from 3 weddings in 2006 to 38 weddings in 2007, people want to know, like, whoa, what the heck? How did that happen? We'll talk a little bit more about there, but I want to talk a little bit about my first wedding. And I'm going to talk a lot today, so please forgive me. You guys should get comfortable. JD, you should probably go to Starbucks and get some coffee, because you guys are going to be nodding off in a second. I'm not that interesting, but I'm just going to talk about my experience, because that's all I have. Like, I watched David Duchemin's and I watched Zach Arias' CreativeLIVE, and they are, like, so legit. They are smart. They're, like, deep. They're artistic. Like, Zach has a graying beard. Like, he looks sagely, you know? I'm like, oh, my God, I don't even have that. They're really good. I don't have that, but I only have me and I only have my experience, so it will fall short of a ton of expectation, but I'm just gonna lay it all out there right there. Having said that, my very first wedding actually came as a recommendation from my wedding photographer. Now, at the time, my wedding photographer was charging $12,000. And so when you get a recommendation from your wedding photographer and he's charging $12,000, my first thought is, oh my God, my first wedding is gonna be $10,000. This bride emails me, and she says, I got your name as a recommendation from David J, and I'm getting married in October, and I just want, to get an idea of your prices. And of course, I have no idea about pricing. I don't know which way is up. So I'm just like, okay. I emailed her back and I said, well, tell me what your budget is. And she emailed back and she said, for 10 hours of coverage, 2 photographers, the disc of digital negatives, and an engagement session, I have $1,000. And I was just like, funny, that's what I charge. I was like, and so that's the start of like my first legit official pricing structure. As flawed as it is, whatever. It is what it is, because I will say $1,000 is peanuts for what we do as artists, but $1,000 for that wedding was almost as much as I made for my part-time paycheck every 2 weeks. So, I mean, it was what it was. And my philosophy was I wanted to get in the industry, specifically in Orange County and Los Angeles. Southern California is this mecca of amazing creative photographers who are all like born and bred. They're like thoroughbreds in what they do. I'm not lying. Like, they came out with a camera, and I'm like, I didn't have that. And so I wanted to get my name out there in the industry. And I knew that, of course, I could come out charging, I don't know, $2,500, $3,000. I could have. But it would be so much of a harder booking because I didn't necessarily have that much of a portfolio. I couldn't afford to have a sample album made. How could I compete with other people within that pricing structure without any type of like foundation? So what I wanted to do was just get down, get dirty, and get busy real fast. Please don't tweet that. That one's like, get down, get dirty. I was like, that's not a good tweet. Don't tweet that one. Yeah, no. So I started shooting weddings for $1,000, and she said that she wanted all of that for $1,000. But I knew that I wanted her to put a little bit more value on what I was bringing to the table. So the start of my pricing structure was 10 hours, an engagement session, 2 photographers for $1,000. If she wanted to add the disc of digital negatives, well, then that was going to be an extra $500. Now, I was so scared. I was scared that she was gonna walk away. This one was a recommendation from my own wedding photographer. Like, what is he gonna think? Who do you think you are? You ain't got nothing booked, sweetie. Like, take the wedding and run. But he, you know, he wasn't part of this conversation, but of course I'm thinking, what is he gonna think if I turn away this wedding? But at the same time, I needed her to put a value. If I would have come back and said, $1,000 is what it is, perfect. I said she can have my services for $1,000, but then I put value on the cost of the digital negatives. Because there had to be some sort of level of association with her wanting me. Because I feel like when we shop, we put more value on the things that we spend more money on. It's just that simple. You buy a sweater from like TJ Maxx or Ross for $20, you like the sweater. But you buy the same sweater at like Nordstrom or Neiman Marcus. Well, then you're keeping it in the little sleeve that it came in. You're keeping the tags and the extra button. It's just the value that's associated with the cost of what you're bringing to the table. What happens, she came back, she reorganized her budget for the wedding, and she ended up booking me for $1,500. She appreciated me more because she had spent more for me. And of course, we think $500, what is that in the grand scheme of a wedding planning? But $500 for her particular budget, which I'm guessing for the entire wedding was roughly around $8,000. An extra $500 out of an $8,000 budget is a lot of money. And so for her to appropriate that for services does mean a lot. So keeping that in the back of your mind. A crazy thing happened during this time was that she had 12 bridesmaids. My very first bride had 12 bridesmaids. And I call them my J-Star cheer squad. Because what happened at the time was I didn't have a website. I couldn't afford a website, but I did have a photography blog. And on this photography blog, I was really, it's still up. On my current blog, if you go to the link section, there's a link to my old blog. And I want to take that blog down. It is so, I mean, God, it's embarrassing. It really, really, really is revealing to what I went through. Like oh my God, I'm so scared I have to shoot today. Why won't anybody hire me? Oh my gosh, I'm sick. This is what JD and I did for Valentine's. It's the most ridiculous blog on the face of this earth. I will leave it up there because I want to show people I didn't have it together. I had no idea which way was up, but I struggled just like everybody else to kind of get my voice and put my feet firmly on the ground. What happened was these girls started following the blog. Why? I have no idea. The only people that were reading were my mom and my husband. And my husband was like on like every third day of the week. Like he's like, you couldn't possibly have anything interesting to write about. Oh, little did he know. So there I am writing this blog. And one of the first, I'm jumping all over the place. Okay, so just to clarify, I'm running 2 different computers. I have my computer here, and then I'm running the creativeLIVE computer. So I am like trying to like balance both of them. Before we get into like the blogging and all that good stuff, I want to talk about what the main thesis of today will be. Today's main thing will be marketing your brand. Again, this goes back to the philosophy that I didn't have much to begin with, but I knew that if I started, so the way that a lot of times new photographers like myself want to start is we want to get the nice gear. We want to get the best cameras. We want to work with the best camera bags. We want to have the nicest computer. So we go to all the things that we think tangibly will make us legitimate, right? But the way that's the pyramid is structured so that the very most important thing at the very top of the pyramid, that little tiny triangle, is our gear. And then the next one might be our computers. And then maybe like our camera bags and things of that nature, things that you could brag about. The swag that you keep, if you guys are on photography forums, what do you shoot with at the bottom of your signature? It's like, I shoot with the Kennedy like 5D Mark II, and everyone's like, ooh. You know? It's like we want to do that because somehow it legitimizes us. What happened was I rocked a 20D for over a year and a half. I shot almost my entire portfolio in the first 2 years was on the 20D. That's a prosumer camera. That's like that almost, I mean, when I would go to weddings, when I first started shooting weddings, the guests would have nicer cameras than me. And I'm just like, oh, how embarrassing. But what do? Listen, you're shooting on P mode. I'm shooting on manual. I could do more with my 20D than you can do in P mode, so thank you. I mean, at least that's what I told myself. I don't know. Maybe it didn't work for other people, but it worked for me. So basically, this is what we're going to be talking about today. turning that pyramid upside down. Because the thing that we put at the very bottom of the pyramid in this preconceived notion and structure of what we do as photographers is we keep ourselves at the very bottom. But if you flip the pyramid upside down, you put yourselves up at the top, and the very thing that matters the least is the very thing that we actually want to use as a cornerstone of our business, which is our gear. But listen, at the end of the day, you can rent a camera, you can rent a lens, you can even borrow your sister's computer. You cannot borrow or rent your brand. You cannot borrow or rent the presentation that you put out on the web, and that is what's selling people. That's the changing dynamic of this ever-changing industry. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So, like I said, when I started out, I was looking for a way to stick out from the others. I would look on the internet and I would see these amazing branded photographers. And in undergraduate school, I studied business administration. So I knew branding and I understood it from like a macro level, like how big companies, so like Heinz and Nordstrom and Pedigree, how they branded themselves. But I didn't know how to do it for me, a girl who had no money. Like I said, I just got out of law school. I just got married. I worked part-time, and JD was with this startup company that was literally paying him in like pesos and oranges every 2 weeks. I don't know. They were really saying, please work for free. I'm not even exaggerating. So like our nightly, like our date nights were seriously, I'm not even exaggerating, Taco Bell. We'd go through the drive-thru, and it's like with $4.49, we'd go home with dinner. That's kind of how life was. We didn't have very much money, and so I was looking to other people, and to be quite honest, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but where I was, I would look, and I would see the studios that they had, and I would see the cars that they drove, and I would see how many sample albums they had, and I'm thinking, that's how many, you guys have a library of sample albums, and I can't even afford to have one. You know, and I always tell this story, but whatever, it never gets old to me. There was a photographer that I followed, and he went on his blog, and he just took a snapshot of his desk because he was talking about something else completely unrelated to his post. But what I saw in the corner of his picture, I took the picture and I took it into Photoshop and I enlarged the photo, and I sat there and I counted how many CF cards he had. And I was like, 1, 2, 3, and I lost count after like 25. And I'm just like, I have 2. I was like, I could never compete with him. I can never compete with him. And it was more along these times where I realized I can't win at the game you're playing. So I'm gonna create my own game. And if I win at my own game, the playing field will be equal. And that's the foundation on which I stand. That is why a ton of people on the interweb don't like me. That is why I don't care. It's my game. These are my playing pieces, you know, and it is what it is. You create your own game. Don't let other people create the game for you. You have your own pieces, you make up your own die. How I first started was a lot from word of mouth. Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna revisit the idea of the 12 bridesmaids. The 12 ladies in waiting, they became the J-Star Cheer Squad. So they had followed the blog up until that point. Now, the blog at this point was, again, like I'd mentioned, really kind of pathetic. Remember, this is Christina and Danny's wedding was the first wedding that I shot on my own. If they had followed the blog, they would know that every once in a while I was second shooting with other people. But for the most part, all the posts were related to getting a new puppy, my husband, and what I ate for dinner. Blah, blah, boring, boring. I would go outside and I would shoot like this orange tree that we had. I mean, boring, boring, boring. And then I would talk about the gifts that I got. Oh, I got some like tropical sea scrub. I'm sick and I'm watching Lost. How is that professional? How is that anything photography related? And it's not. And I feel like that actually served as the foundation of my business. The banalities of my life, but what actually like set me apart. In a sea of professional sameness, I was like this little blip on the radar that was kind of different. And some people found it refreshing and some people found it ridiculous. It doesn't matter. For the people who found it refreshing, it was a good thing for me. For the people who found it ridiculous, they stopped following me. Great, perfect, awesome, no biggie. Word of mouth came a lot from the web, but not in the ways that we traditionally think it would be. These are people who would read my blog, but most of my audience, remember at the time, there's not my audience, like all 20 of them, you know, they weren't probably getting married. However, what was happening was like if they came back to my blog, and at the time, now I blog about every day. At the time, back when I first started blogging, I was blogging around 3 times a week. And when they would come back, they would feel like they were having a conversation with somebody on the web. I became this strange friend to them. And in a way, whenever they heard that somebody was getting married, the first person they thought of was me. Not because they thought I was a great photographer, but because they felt like they were referring a friend. And the way that that people can vouch for you when they feel like they know you personally is very different than saying, I saw this one wedding photographer at my cousin's wedding a couple years ago. I can get you contact. Versus, there's this photographer who has this really cute dog, and she's totally random, but she likes Lost. You know, it's like, to me, that's a stronger recommendation because that person sounds like they personally know me. That was how the base of the structure turned out to be. The 12 bridesmaids started talking to their friends and saying, oh, we read this blog, or have you checked out this blog? They were not in the market necessarily to get married, but they had friends who were in the market of getting married. That's how a lot of it started in the beginning. I booked my first 10 weddings on my blog alone. I didn't have a website because I couldn't afford it, but I feel like I took what I had and I made it work. But I will say, the minute that I got a website, my business completely changed and it took on a whole new face, but we'll talk about that in a bit. People want to know, how do I get my clients now? And strangely enough, nothing has changed from the beginning of my business to where it is now. People find my business through only one of two ways, and that is on the web. That is through my blog, and it is through my website. I prefer actually them finding me through my website. It's a stronger representation of who I am as a professional. I want them to first see who I am and legitimacy on the web. That's a very, very, very big thing. Somebody once said that your website is your handshake and your blog is your voice. I want a really soft voice and a really firm handshake. So when somebody first comes to see me, I want them to see, wow, this girl is legit. She's a professional. But I want the blog to be the personality of who I am as a business. How do I get clients today? Still remains the same. They only find me on the web. In fact, my business cards don't have my phone number. And I know that some people will think that's crazy, that's ludicrous, and it probably is, but you guys hear me talk now, right? I annoy myself with my own voice. If somebody were to call me, I'm just keeping it real, please, like, oh, don't send the sad tweets, your voice is fine. No, I know it's not, okay? Like, I know I have this hyena pitch laugh. I get it, it's totally fine, but if somebody were to call me, and there I am, and I am easily excitable, clearly. So a girl calls me, and she's getting married, and she's talking to me about her dress, and I'm like, oh my God, your dress, and you're getting married here? Oh my God, meh. It's like, ooh, I cringe. It's the most unprofessional personification of me possible. The most professional, the most contained, the most control for me is on the web. Our first interactions are via email. Once I have all her information, once I know where she's getting married, once I know her wedding date, I can then call her if she wants me to call her, and I can calm, so you're getting married at the Ritz. That's so nice to hear. Awesome, tell me a little bit more about your dress. I then have the ball in my possession and I'm in control. If somebody catches me off guard, I'm just like, totally out of my A game. My A game. Look at me, I talk like I have swag. My A game. Oh my God, like I have game. Anyway, for the game I pretend I have. So that's what I do. That's how clients are contacting me. If a client, I used to have my phone number on my website, which is totally fine. And if I get referrals from other people and their friends are calling me on the phone, they'll most likely leave a voice message. And when I call them back, I tell them to please visit my website and send me an email. Because I want to get all that information. Again, I want to play to my strength. I want to make sure that the brand stays intact. And that brand is continuous communication via the web. And quite frankly, I'm not a phone person. So I don't really want to attract a client who needs constant communication via the phone. Because there are only, so many hours in the day. And if I spend 20 minutes with 4 clients in a day, that is over an hour. Yes, over an hour. I was like, do the math. It's over an hour of communication. And sure, 20 minutes isn't a lot. But what if those 20 minutes came from clients that weren't even my own? What if they couldn't afford me to begin with? And that's 20 minutes that I shall never get back. That is theoretically digging into my personal time with my husband and with my dog. That's how I try to contain the brand. More than what's most important is knowing who your client is. And I wish I had known this early on. When you're first starting, it's hard to really know who your client is, because at that point you just want to work. You just want to get busy. You just want to hit the ground running. But as you build your business, it's really important for you to draw a diagram, literally, of who the person is you're trying to procure for your business. If you don't know what you're trying to get, nobody else will, and you'll have some clients who you really like, some clients you are kind of mixed about, you don't really know, and some clients you absolutely feel are totally bad fit for your business. But that's nobody's fault but your own. The less of you that you have out on the web, the less people will really know about you. They'll just think, she does a good job. He takes nice pictures, he's my photographer. He takes nice pictures and he is within my price range. Good fit, let's go. For me, I felt like the more that I put myself out on the web,
I was giving people reasons to not like me. That's my absolute number one goal. Please, you have so much information for you to make an educated decision about how you feel about me. If you don't like me on the web, I guarantee you probably won't like me in person because I'm like that much more obnoxious in real life. So, having said that, what do I put out on the web? I put out a lot. By the time a client is actually coming to me, she's not necessarily feeling like she doesn't know me. She already knows about my dog. She knows about my husband. She knows about my faith. She knows about my family. She knows where I went on vacation. Some people find that creepy. I don't. By the time the client is coming to me, she's not asking me. So I don't know if you guys have met with clients. They print out this 25 questions from the knot.com that you have to ask a photographer. You know, it's just like whoever invented that list, like seriously needs to be harpooned. I am like, please, like what kind of questions are these? You know, it's like, of course, like they bring out their printout. And when I first started, they would bring out the printout and they would be like, what do you wear on the wedding day? And I'm just like, a bathing suit. You know, like, I mean, I wear a nice outfit. You know, it's just like, do you have backup gear? Do you have a second shooter? I mean, do you have insurance? Like, whatever these things may be. Well, what happens is if anybody wants to do enough research on my blog, when I post a picture of behind the scenes of me and JD at work, why do you think I'm doing that? Yes, to personalize what we do professionally, but at the same time, I want people to know what I'm wearing to a wedding. I want people to know what JD's wearing to a wedding, so they can't ask, what do you wear? You know that JD wears 3 pieces. Call it the 3-piece rule. Some people think it's ridiculous that I request that he dresses so nice. Listen, I want him to look like a guest at the wedding with a really nice camera. I would prefer, sometimes I totally miss the mark. This past weekend, I thought I looked cool, and then I was downloading JD's cards, and he took pictures of me, and I seriously looked like Austin Powers on crack. I wore this ruffled shirt. I was just like, oh my God, why didn't anybody tell me I look so awful? I mean, I was at a really nice venue, and I seriously looked so ridiculous. I looked like I was in a Halloween costume. I'm not lying. I'm gonna post a picture just to show you how ridiculous I looked. Anyway, so, those types of things. What am I putting out on the web? Who is my second shooter? I'm so glad you think I'm funny. Like, we're going to talk the whole time.
Shirt for Friday, so I'm going shopping.
Oh, yeah, don't wear the ruffled shirt. You're going to think it's cute. And then when you see it in pictures, you're going to be like, oh, my God, I look ridiculous. Yeah.
Shopping after that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'm totally kidding. Wear the ruffled shirt and rock it out. If you own the ruffled shirt, you're fine. Just be like, I look good in my ruffled shirt. Also, people ask if I have a second shooter. No, I'm sorry, people no longer ask if I have a second shooter because I always talk about who my second shooter is. I'm always talking about the things, I'm trying to preemptively answer questions and personalize those questions on the web. It's fine too if you just want to put like questions I'm frequently asked. And so anytime somebody asks you, just like, I put that on the web already. And you could use it as an addendum to your website or you can use it as an addendum to your blog. Either way, for me, being able to personalize those types of questions on the web helps define who my client is. I talk about the shows that I watch on TV. Some people would absolutely, positively hate the fact that I watch the Jersey Shore. I don't care. I actually like that show. I like the situation. I like me some Snooki. Leave me alone. I put that on the web because guess what? I'm not going to attract somebody who doesn't find that equally as and horrifically as amusing as I do. That's okay. If you, like JD, like to watch the History Channel and Nova, I'm probably not your photographer. Like, I'm not even lying. Like, the soundtrack to me, like, whenever I have insomnia, like last night, I couldn't sleep because I was so nervous, and I had taken a sleeping pill, and I still couldn't sleep, and I'm like, oh my God. And JD's like, do you want me to put on the History Channel? And I'm like, yes. The minute the History Channel comes on, I'm like, So anyway, I put this stuff out on the web so that I can figure out who people are, so people can figure out who I am. I talk about the anniversary gifts that I get from my husband. I talk about the jeans that I wear. I talk about the shoes that I love. I'm putting stuff out there to make people feel something about me. I'm either trying to connect with people or I'm trying to repel people. If you don't like me, please don't bother contacting me. And I'm so happy to say that now my clients, we're shooting 24 weddings this year, which is where I wanted to stay. I want to shoot between 23 and 25 weddings throughout the year. We're shooting 24 this year. And I'm so excited to say that all of my brides, I could go out to dinner with them. We could even go shopping afterwards if we wanted. And I feel like not necessarily that that's the goal for you, and not necessarily that I would go out to dinner with them or go shopping with them. But the idea is if they're spending one of the most important days of their lives, that they're spending it with somebody that they enjoy, somebody they have a lot of commonalities with. Because at the end of the day, I only have one May 19th, 2011 available. I want to spend it with somebody who I really genuinely like and who I want to feel a connection with. Weddings are so emotionally driven that if I'm more invested into the day emotionally, I feel like I do a better job. And the more I like people, the more it manifests itself positively in that manner. What is the pre-contact experience? So what we're talking about here is what we've been talking about pretty much the whole time. Pre-contact with me verbally, either via the phone or through a meeting. What is their pre-contact experience? Part of the brand is an experience. When they go to my website and they see me, the first thing that somebody goes to when they go to my website is they see me talking directly into a camera and I say, hi, welcome to Jasmine Star. Thanks for stopping by. I'm talking directly to the viewer because I want to disseminate any type of, she's an artiste. She, has won many awards and she wears like, I've never been, I'm not a member to these like photography organizations so much. And like one time I went and they were walking around with like medals and like ribbons that they had won from their print competitions. And I was like, and there was like a couple people that looked like Run DMC because they had like 4 or 5. And I was like, what is this? I don't ever want to make it feel like somebody's trying to hire an artist. I mean, I do to a large extent. Like, yes, I love what I do and I like creating pieces of art for my clients, but I'll be the first to say, I'm not an artiste. I'm not, wearing a beret and like thin cigarettes. I'm like, I'm so deep. It's like, let me get a feeling for this wedding. No, I'm there to do a job and to do a job well. And I want you to like me. And I want to break down any type of businessy transaction to scare you away. It's like, welcome to my storefront. This is my online storefront. Welcome to my home. Sit on my couch. Welcome to my studio. Sit here on the studio and let's just chat on the web. What is your pre-contact experience? What do your websites look like? When somebody goes to your website, are they getting like harp music? Are they getting scripty font? Are they getting a third person narrative of your bio when everybody knows you wrote the bio? Nate Perks first held a camera out of the womb. He developed film in his grandfather's personal lab. It's like, oh my gosh. If I was hiring the 8-year-old Nate Perks who held his first 35 millimeter, that would be fine. But I'm hiring the Nate of now. I'm hiring the Nate who is married and who is having a baby and holds a camera and jumps in Star, Idaho. That's the Nate I want to hire. How are we presenting ourselves out there? Like, yes, it's so great for us to have great photos, and that's what I want everybody to strive for. But at the end of the day, the thing that's really going to be your best selling point, which is what people shy away from, is you. And okay, I just felt myself getting all like Puerto Rican. Hold on. Okay. I need to clarify real quick as a side note. I talk very like authoritatively, like my way or the highway. I was born this way. Like, I came out and I was telling my mom, like, you did it wrong, okay? I talk like this, but I don't mean it at all to be like, I'm right and you're wrong. I just did it. This is how I did it, and I'm sure people disagree with it, and that's fine. So just take it for what it is and be like, that's just Jasmine talking like that, but I don't ever mean it like to be like authoritatively. It's just my opinion. Okay, so that's like the pre-contact experience and what you want people to feel about you. When they go to your blog, what are they seeing? Are they seeing like 3-week lapses in between posts? Are they seeing like, here's John and Jane's wedding. I'll let the pictures do the talking. Really? Really? Like, you were not there on the wedding day? Like, you can't see 2 nice sentences about your clients who just spent a portion of their wedding day budget on you? And of course, I write too much. Whatever. I get it. It is what it is. I write, for those who are not familiar with my blog, I write stories about the clients whenever I engage with them on an engagement session or on a wedding. I am describing what the day looked like. I'm describing things that only manifest themselves as a person who was present on their day. You're hiring me for my perspective of that day. And people often ask, oh, Jasmine, I'm not a writer. I'm not good at it. It's hard. Guess what? So is photography, but you learned how to do that. Right. It's just like, how can you, this is another point of differentiation on the web. They could have hired you and they could have hired 5 other photographers. How much of their investment is worth your time to write something nice about them? And I have something called the 3 and 3 rule. Ideally, you write 3 nice things about the wedding day and 3 nice things about the client. And if you make 1 sentence about each thing. So for instance, let's use Laura and Billy. So Laura and Billy's day was rainy, but they got married in a chocolate factory, so that made their love extra sweet. The pun is totally intended. Yeah. Okay. Laura walked down the aisle, and the drapes were drawn, and the 1940s-style bay windows exposed the back of her beautiful dress. And Billy saw her the day before, but he saw her as if through a new lens as she walked down the aisle. That's 3 things about the wedding. The thing that makes Billy and Laura special is that he knows how to make her laugh in a way that her nose scrunches and makes her look extra cute. And they met in college, and she was washing her car. And he just saw her and her short jean shorts. And during the toasts, her dad brought out her old teddy bear and reminded her to make sure that she sleeps with it at night and gives it to her husband. If you were to write, that's not creative, a little creative. If you were to write 1 sentence about those things, that's 6 sentences total. 6 sentences is a paragraph. You just wrote a paragraph about that wedding day. And I don't write for photographers. I actually know that a lot of photographers don't read the blog. They'll just go to pictures, which I'm fine with. I'm not writing it for anybody else but my clients. But Laura's dad, if he were to read the blog after, I want him to know that I was there and I was paying attention. I saw you, I saw her, I saw what happened there. That is how you make yourselves really, really, really different.
Jasmine, you're making the internet cry.
Okay, good. I'm like Barbara Walters. I probably made them cry because I was crying in the beginning. Like, when you see somebody cry and then you just cry, that's probably the experience. Okay, one last thing. And actually, I think we're kind of running behind. Woo! Okay. How can you leverage yourself? When we go back and we talk about the things, like clearly, you guys now know the backstory. What happened? Like, I didn't have much. I didn't know which way was up. But still, clearly, I was able to still somehow have people trust me to document their wedding day. How can you leverage yourself? My things that I felt like leveraged me, how I was different, was the fact that I liked to write. So I used that to my advantage. Not everybody likes to write, so that might not be your advantage. I felt like my name, people ask if it's a stage name or a biological name. Jasmine Star is my name. It's a biological name, and my twin sister is Bianca Flower. I walked away with a better name. My mom was a hippie. So yes, it is my name, but I felt like it worked very well for the business. So I will actually use a large part of my name as part of the branding. Another thing was that I used my personal experiences as having just got married. When I first started booking weddings, I got married just about a year or less than a year when my brides are getting married, so I can talk to them about the things that they're talking about. Or when I'm blogging about things, my target market is brides between 28 and 34. I know that about my brides now because of where I am priced. I'm really not so much getting the younger brides anymore. I've priced myself a little bit out of that market, but now I know where my target market lies. So I'm within that age demographic. So that is how I'm leveraging myself on the web as well. What can you do to leverage yourself on the web? How can you manifest the things that you're really good at in a way that would connect with other people? Now, Victoria loves her cats. We all know Victoria loves her cats. But how is that at all relatable to wedding photography? It's not, unless she dresses her cats up like a bride and groom. But really, what I think she could do would be to use that to personalize who she is as a photographer, what she does as a person. And I feel like that is how people are going to connect with her. And if there are other people who like cats as much as Victoria does, they will instantly like her as a byproduct of that. I know that some of my brides, when we first meet with them, they'll bring gifts for Polo. Not every bride, but enough brides, if they like dogs, they're bringing him like a little sprinkles. Do you guys have sprinkles up here? Oh no, I'm here like you guys are Seattleites or something. No. Well, anyway, in Southern California, we have this cupcake place called Sprinkles, and they make dog treats as well. And so sometimes people will come and they'll bring sprinkle cupcake dog treats for Polo, or they'll bring him a little shirt or something. Had I not been so personal on the web, had I not been so obsessed with my dog, I don't know if they would have connected with me on that level. Are you using anything to help people connect with you on the web? That's one thing to really, really, really think about. People always ask in the beginning if I ever regret having posted something that was too personal, and my answer is always no. I didn't regret it then, so I'm not going to regret it now, seeing how my life has changed. And sometimes people think, well, what is too personal, or everybody has their own barometer. I happen to put a lot out there, and it doesn't necessarily bother me because, again, I am a really black or white person. I want you to like me and talk about me as your friend, or I want you to not like me and make snarky comments on Twitter. Bam. Okay. So, oh shoot, JD's gonna be sending me evil eyes. Cut it out. He's so politically correct. One thing, my best friends and I in high school, My best friends from high school are still my best friends still to this day. My sister's getting married in 2 weeks, and all of us are going to get together for her wedding, and I'm like so excited. But one thing we always talk about is KIR, keep it real. Keep it real. If that's the one thing that you guys walk away, if that's what you take back to like Copenhagen and Canada and London on like holiday, got it, not vacation, holiday. If that's what you guys take back is KIR, keep it real. If somebody's not gonna like you, it's better that they not like you for everything you are than the person you're trying so hard to become, which you are not really. I suffered from that when I first started. I wanted to be extraordinarily professional, and I so wasn't there. And the minute I just let it go and I'm like, hey, listen, I would rather you not like me for me being 100% myself. Do it, rock it out, KIR, keep it real. If I am annoying you, I'm talking too much, if I'm too loud, as we're shooting, if I am not giving you this shoot, I'm sorry, not the wedding, but tomorrow. As we're shooting, as I'm demonstrating what I'm doing, if you don't feel like I am addressing what you need as a photographer, KIR. If I'm not helping you, there's somebody on the web that's going to identify with each one of you for some different reason. If I'm not giving you what you need, I'm not giving the people on the internet what they need either. So like, Jasmine, I don't know this, I don't know that, whatever the case may be, you ask me, KIR. Here is a blog post that I had written right when I first started. This is like back in February of 2006. Why am I such a chicken? I swear, I should just lay an egg to complete this metamorphosis. I mean, the chicken and I both share entities like feet, breasts, and pointed breathing orifices. So if I sprouted feathers tonight, I wouldn't be surprised. I need to be willing to go out on a limb and ask people if I could take their pictures. I mean, I know couples who are engaged, so why can't I bring myself to ask them if I can snap their engagement photos? For crying out loud, I wouldn't even charge them. So what's stopping me? My fear of rejection, of incompetence, of embarrassment. I need to do this. I just need to. This was written in 2006. And to see how much I just put out there, to admit openly, I'm really scared and I totally don't know what I'm doing. And I still manage to book weddings. That's, I think, one end of a very far spectrum. It is okay to every once in a while say, I'm scared. I'm putting myself out there. People will respond so much more to you because of that. I was speaking last week in St. Louis, and somebody said, nobody ever leaves comments on my blog. How can I get more comments? And I'm like, well, I don't know how you get more comments. I don't know if it's a strategic thing. But then I asked her, well, when is the last time you wrote a personal post? And she was like silent. She was like, I think I'm gonna do one next week. Like, part of the reason why I asked that question is because when we go through art galleries, when we look at anything that inspires us, it's not like we're writing, hey, great, dear photographer who was portrayed out in the Getty Museum, you did a great job, congrats. We don't do those types of things. What we respond to as other human beings are commonalities between us. We are all scared at some point in time. We are all happy at other points in times. We're all angry at some points in times. We're all scared. Chase and I had this discussion. He doesn't call himself a blogger. I call myself a blogger. I first was exposed to the blogging world when I was in law school, and I used blogging as a way to escape. I would read about other people's lives, and I connected with these strangers in ways that I didn't think was possible, and I still read those same blogs still to this day. My Google Reader is, most of it is not photographers. It's just people who like to write because I like to read. And this other person who actually resides in Canada, I've never met him. I think he's hilarious. And he just decided to write a personal post about the loss of his father that he's still reeling from 4 years earlier. He didn't do it all emotional. He just said he thought about his father and he saw his cat bathing in the sunlight and he realized he might lose his cat soon, which reminded him of his father, and he started to cry. I'm not a cat person, but I lost my grandfather. I almost lost my mom. You know that feeling of loss. And I connected with a complete stranger, that so much so that if I were to see him on the street, I'd be like, hey, I know you. You kind of sort of want people to connect with you on that level. And I guarantee you, I speak about these things. I spoke in St. Louis last week about connecting on the web. And I've gotten quite a few emails, probably in the 7 to 14 range of people said, the next day I wrote about X, and X being like anything. The fact that they like grilled cheese and peanut butter. That's crazy, weird. They liked it, they blogged about it, and she's like, I got 4 or 5 comments. That's awesome. And here she is trying to struggle to have people comment on her photography when she knows people are going. And yet she blogs about this peanut butter and grilled cheese thing that's totally random, and she gets 4 or 5 comments on that. Why? People have a connectivity to it. Either I had that as a baby, or you are straight gross. Either way, people are feeling something about it. Nothing out there, don't put anything out there you will regret, but put something out there that would help you connect with other people. And I mean this both on the blog and on your website. I'll talk a little bit more about my website in a bit. Do you guys have questions right now? I feel like I'm talking a whole bunch. Yes, Nate.
Right now, do you find you get most of your clients from your blog or from your website? Because you talked about how you want to direct them to your website, but do you find you get most of your people from your blog or your website, do you think?
Well, if it's like a random, like generated internet search, like Google, I will get it through my blog. But if it's a word of mouth from a client, it's definitely from my website. And so, actually, I do feel that the clients I book in higher percentages are coming from past clients. I'm making my own word. Clients. That's so fancy. No, clients. They come from past clients. So, anytime a client is referring me, most often they're sending them to the website, which is what I want. And there's a higher percentage of booking because this other bride is talking directly about me. And she says, Jasmine is this, Jasmine is that, Jasmine is this, and then you go to her website. Most of the time they're saying go to my website. And that's where I feel like it's an easier thing. I book about 50% of my brides sight unseen, and that's coming directly from a word of mouth. I like booking my clients without having to meet them because the more, it takes me about 45 minutes to get ready to go to the meeting, and then I'm 15 minutes from the studio where I meet my clients, and then I meet with the clients for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then it takes me 15 minutes to get home. That is, if I'm doing my math correctly, 2 hours and 15 minutes added to the cost of their wedding collection. Regardless if they book me or not, that's 2 hours and 15 minutes out of my schedule. I'm 2 hours and 15 minutes less profitable on the bottom dollar for their event. If I can book the wedding having sight unseen, I'm 2 hours and 15 minutes more profitable on that. I'm running a business as much as I am trying to be creative. And I feel like specifically with what we do in our niche of photography, you need to make money. And a lot of times people are just, what do you want? Yes, yes, yes. And it's just like at the end of the day, you're paying them to shoot the wedding. And we need to stay away from that. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, for sure.
That was like a really roundabout answer. Victoria.
I just started a blog, like maybe a month ago.
Congratulations.
And I did it because I read your blog a lot, and I think your blog is awesome. And I'm like, okay, she's convinced me I have to start a blog. I have like, maybe 2 or 3 followers. I don't know how many people actually read it, like my mom and Stefan and some of my friends. But how do you, like, if you bring yourself back to the 12 bridesmaids, like how did you get them and all their friends and stuff interested enough in your blog to follow you and start commenting? And
I don't have a concrete answer for that because I can only talk about what I did. And what I did was I just talked about my life. Like that was it. I gave enough people reasons to feel like they were my friends. Like yesterday's blog post for this particular week, I talked about going to St. Louis. But I didn't just say, I went to St. Louis to speak to a bunch of great people. I'll let the pictures do the talking. I talked about the experience leading up to us actually doing what I wanted to do in St. Louis, which was so stupid. I had to see the St. Louis Arch. I'm like, oh my God, I never cared about the Arch, but the minute I went to St. Louis and I saw it on the Singular commercial, I was like, I have to see the Arch. Like, I don't care. And JD is just like, you're not a touristy person. I'm not. Like, I'm not going to go see the Space Needle. Like, I mean, God bless it for all that it is, but I'm just not going to do it. It's not what I am. But God, this Arch, I got it in me, and I'm like, we have to go see the Arch. And JD's like, it's going to cost us this, and it's going to be this time, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I have to see the Arch. That was the story leading up into the blog post. What I just did was I personalized something that could be okay, here's another thing. I'm gonna keep it real. I just say stuff, and then sometimes I'm just like, I wish I hadn't said it, but whatever. I'll say it what it is. Sometimes if I read other blogs and there's other photographers who spoke at an event, and it sometimes kind of seems self-congratulatory. Is that a word? That is a lot of syllables. So. Wow, I'm really smart. Self-congratulatory. So it sounds like I did this, I did that, me, me, me. It sounds like they're warming up for a choir practice, right? I, me, me, me. It's like, oh my gosh. I would hate to be that kind of person. So how can I not be that person and allow people to connect with me on a way that most photographers might not be able to? Most photographers might not be able to speak at the St. Louis shot party. Primarily because this was the very first one, but we won't say anything. How can I make it seem so that people can still identify with the story? I'm not talking about, look what I did. It's, hey, I had this crazy urge to go see the Arch, and I happened to be there and spoke to a group of photographers. Any way that you could personalize something that's business related, I think is always beneficial. And I totally mean this on the website too. We're gonna talk about my website in a bit. Personalize, 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 personalize. That is a huge part specifically. And I had a conversation with Chase about this yesterday. He said, is this applicable in all genres of photography? And I don't know. I don't know if it would work as well with commercial photography, because at the end of the day, they're just like, listen, it's cool that you have a dog, but we want you, for its bottom dollar, can you do the job? For me, I have 25 clients. I need to make sure that we are connected on a very personal level. Brides are booking out of emotion. We know this. Brides make all kinds of excuses to fudge with their budget to ensure that they have what they need. How can we do that and not make it seem so businessy and make it seem like, hey, I'm here because I care about you? And you only do that by personalization. Yes, personalization. Personalization. That's a good word. Okay, let's talk a little bit about social media and branding. Are you guys cool? We take a break like in a little bit after this section. Okay, I have a break scheduled at 2, but I just don't know if we're actually going to make it there.
I just have one question
Yes.
for you, Jazz. So you talked about, if you're professional and personalizing. I'm on the other end of the spectrum where I'm just starting in photography, right? And so I've been writing a blog that's very personal for a while, and I'm kind of struggling as to how do I bring it to being professional and starting to get the photo business in it and get my clients to see me as a professional and still keep that personal side that I already have.
You need to start posting professional things.
Yeah.
So out here, while you're in Seattle, those posts should be all professionally driven. Yes, they
Okay.
should have a personal aspect to it,
Yeah.
but the fact that, out of all the people who made videos and contributed their videos,
Yeah.
you were picked. That's a big thing. I think it shows like a promising thing about who you are professionally. You're gonna want to post pictures after Laura and Billy's wedding. Post them as a professional aspect of who you are.
Yeah.
When you go back to Copenhagen, set up a shoot. A lot of times people struggle with having portfolio work.
Yeah.
Set up a shoot. It costs a little bit of money, but you're gonna be able to showcase you in a professional manner. Go to photographer meetings that are free. Bring a point and shoot camera. Take a picture of yourself and somebody at the meeting. You're being professional at this professional meeting. I did that.
Yeah.
It shows people that you are being professional and yet very personal. That's, I think, how you kind of create a hybrid. And I think that people want to know that there's R&D in your small company, research and development. They want to know that you're reinvesting in your business and not just buying another lens. Because to them, they're just like, one lens does it all, right? And it's like, but for them, if they see you going and reinvesting in your like education, they see that as like an advantageous for their investment. Okay.
Jasmine, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So a lot of people have questions about prior to the first wedding photo shoot that you did, where you charged $1,500.
Yes.
The time between when you decided you wanted to do it and you got that photo shoot. Are you going to get into that later and talk about?
No, that's actually a really good question to answer now. So
Okay.
I first picked up a camera in January. I got on to OSP Photography Forum, and I was super scared. Anytime you get onto like some type of online media thing, it's like you don't want to come out and say, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm super scared. This particular forum coddles people like me. Everybody was warm and fuzzy. There was no snarky people on this forum, and I would comment on other people's photos, and occasionally I would post a photo of my own for criticism and feedback. And so what happens is you create this friendship, this online community of friends, as crazy as it sounds. And if you've been on a forum, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't been on a forum, you're gonna think I'm straight tripping. Either way, get on the forum and know what I'm talking about. So you kind of create these like cyber friends. And then in May of 2006, a photographer put up a posting, and he said he needed a second photographer. And he had seen me on the forum contributing. He felt like he knew me. Why? I was contributing on the forum. And my dad's a pastor, and my dad spoke at his church. And he's like, you seem okay. Out of all the people, because of course everybody wants a second shoot. So he puts up a posting and says, I need a second shooter. And so many people were like, I can second shoot, I can second shoot, I can second shoot. And I put up hey, I get second shoot. And because I had contributed in the forum before, and because he had some prior experience, by luck, of knowing my father, which is how the world works, it's just crazy little connections, he invited me to come along with him. So I second shot my very first wedding in May of 2006. That was my very first portfolio piece. He didn't pay me. It was fine. I got to put the pictures on my blog. It was what it was. And then when other people would ask on the forum, hey, how did Jasmine do? Like in those little private messages that nobody else sees, I hope. Hey, how did Jasmine do? And I guess he said that I was okay. And so then that opened the door, his vouch for me as a person. Clearly, I honest to God, don't think he was vouching for me as a photographer. The pictures were okay. They were okay. I did a solid job. They weren't breathtaking. They weren't awesome. They were just okay. And as a second shooter, I always equate the second shooter as the grout to the tile. I mean, the main photographer is laying the tile. The grout actually seals everything. So I just had to kind of be there okay. I had to do an okay job. And so he vouched for me to other photographers on the forum. And then along came, I'm actually going to talk about that too. So I'm going to talk about second shooting and stuff in a bit. But I second shot my very first wedding in May, and I first shot my first wedding in October. So that's the professional spectrum that I had before going out on my own. And then going out on my own, after going out on my own, I didn't really second shoot because I booked so many weddings the next year that I was booked. So.
And how many second shooting gigs did you do before you did that first wedding?
I don't have a concrete number, but I'm guessing it's in the ballpark of around 12.
Awesome.
So, yeah. But we'll get into that too.
Okay.
Cool.